Most people think financial businesses grow because someone is charismatic, right? They got a lot of charisma, right? And that's really not what I've seen. I've watched loud people fail. I've watched talented people disappear, and I've watched disciplined people quietly build organizations that change their entire bloodline. Okay, because this business is not built on hype; it's built on structure. It's built on structure. So when I first started building my business, um, I thought success would come from motivation. You know, I thought I needed perfect. I thought I needed perfect confidence. I thought I needed better communication. I thought I needed, like most people, more followers and more energy, right? Um, but eventually, I realized something uncomfortable, right? Most people aren't failing because they lack talent. They're not failing because they lack talent. They're failing because they lack systems. So the moment my business started growing, okay, was the moment that I stopped operating emotionally. I stopped operating emotionally. Once I stopped doing that, my business started growing. Okay. Stopped operating emotionally and started operating structurally. So what actually grew my business, right? There are things that actually grew my business. Number one was my daily contacts, right? I mean, I stopped waiting to feel motivated. So I created daily standards because before it was just random effort, okay? But I created structured effort. So everyday conversations, follow-ups, and appointments. Consistency, consistency will always beat intensity. Any and everybody can work hard emotionally for 3 days. Okay. But very few people can stay disciplined for 3 years. So, number two, follow up systems. Follow up systems. See, most money is lost in poor follow up. Poor follow up. Not because people aren't interested, but because people are distracted. It's a distracted world. You got Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you got all kinds of stuff, life stuff. So people get distracted. So I built systems like text follow-ups, email touch points, staying up on my CRM organization, and scheduled check-ins. The third one is and this is probably the most important one, right? I started interviewing for work ethic and not just talent. I stopped recruiting personalities. I stopped recruiting personalities, and I started really looking for people that were had discipline, coachability, reliability, emotional control, and people who thought long term. You don't have to have a big personality for that. The next is content creation, which I just added to my bag. So I realized modern business is trust on a broad scale. So I started creating like educational videos like this one. All right. And that's another conversation on that, on my journey on creating content. like, financial conversations, stories, and, also some leadership content as well. And I'm doing all that not to go viral, right? But to build credibility within my own community of people who don't know me, but are in the area that I live in. So the hardest truth that most men avoid is that most men want financial freedom. They want financial freedom, but they avoid repetitive behavior. And that's really a contradiction because businesses are built through repetition. You go to McDonald's, it operates the same way every time. You go to Wendy's, Burger King, it operates the same every time. Not excitement. So my days aren't like super glamorous or dramatic, and I keep them from being dramatic. So I don't believe you thought that, right? But my day mostly consists of calls, follow-ups, meetings, uh, training, reading stuff, systems, and thinking long term. So your future changes when your daily habits become predictable. Okay. I'll give you a quick story, right? So one day I sat with a father, right? Good man, like super hardworking, trying to provide, right? Like most men, right? But financially overwhelmed. And I remember realizing something, man. Most people don't need someone to impress them. They don't need someone to impress them. They need someone willing to guide them. And that changed everything. I stopped viewing this as sales. I stopped viewing it as recruiting. And I stopped viewing it as transactions. And I start viewing it as responsibility. I started viewing it as structure. I start viewing it as leadership. I start viewing it as service. So somewhere right now, there's a man working hard every day, trying to take care of his family, trying to build stability, and trying to create something meaningful in his life. But he feels behind. He feels confused and uncertain. And the dangerous part is that most people around him only teach consumption. Very few teach construction. I grew my business by becoming predictable, not perfect, predictable. Consistent conversations, consistent service to my clients, consistent follow up, consistent leadership. Because eventually, structure compounds. And discipline years become powerful lives. So if you're serious about building financial stability, if you're serious about building leadership, if you're serious about long-term growth, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel because wealth is rarely built emotionally. It's built structurally.